Hey, everybody, this is Gary. You are watching a special video edition of my Rants and Rave podcast, and I'm excited because we've been introducing every podcast this InfoComm season with a thanks to TASCAM for being a sponsor, but they're more than a sponsor of our podcast. So I'm excited to be joined by Joe Stopka, who is the VP of Sales and Business Development for TASCAM. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Gary.
Now, you're going to look familiar, first off, before we talk about TASCAM, you're going to look familiar to a lot of people because prior to TASCAM, you were at Starin for 27 years. Correct.
Yeah. You probably also see my picture in a post office. Do they do that anymore? I don't think they do that.
Let's hope not, because Vegas is not the place to go with all the cameras they've got there. But listen, we needed our audio problem solved 2.5, almost 3 years ago. And I personally placed a call to TASCAM and said, can someone solve this problem? And we got hooked up with Eric over at your organization. And TASCAM has been a flawless partner of ours since then. I'm proud to have you guys as a sponsor. We do truly use all your stuff. And you're the reason why our podcast sounds so good now compared to where they were a couple of years ago. And live at InfoComm, we use your gear. You guys are perfected audio gear.
Well, we appreciate that. We do have a great heritage. It's as I mentioned earlier to you on the side, it's an iconic brand that, it's just amazing how many professional audio people have started their careers on TASCAM equipment. Whether it was our Porta Studios or interfaces or even some of our big consoles and tape machines in the past. So.
Well, I'll tell you, working with your company and your products has been great, and everyone talks about how good we sound now, and all those issues solved. Of course, we've got the network to deal with, which is a whole different issue, which we'll get into because I'm going to ask you about that because TASCAM is so hardware centric. But you're in booth, you're in the Central Hall in booth 915, and it's interesting. I wrote up a story yesterday about how TASCAM came out with a new dual recording cassette player. And I'm writing this up thinking, I could have written this story back in 1989 too. It's amazing how you have this both heritage of products, but also how this technology, even in the digital age, still is needed because people ultimately want to have that analog recording.
Well, just imagine the number of libraries that are still out there that need to be digitized. And there's just no simple way of doing it. I mean, I myself being a professional musician and recording guy for years, I have stacks of cassettes that I'm wondering what's on there. And while I'm working during the day, I'm archiving, my cassettes and thumb drives. And some of it's really hilarious that I find, but some of it's like, God, I missed that. It was some great production and some music that I just didn't realize I still had. And now if you take that and then apply that to a house of worship that has an old library of sermons and then schools and libraries that just have this plethora of material that some of it is has not been already reproduced in digital. They can digitize this and kind of republish all this stuff. It's just a wealth of information and knowledge that is so that those machines, as crazy it may seem to come out with this new old technology, we're selling quite a few of these, and it's amazing.
So at InfoComm, you're introducing an 8-track player.
Yes.
What are you? So tell us. At InfoComm, you're in Central Hall booth 915. Tell me what you're going to launch at InfoComm. What are you going to show? And then I also want to ask you about how the TASCAM look at this sort of transition from analog to digital to online.
Sure. We're going to be basically exposing our Dante interfaces to the InfoComm crowd. We actually brought this back we first brought them out at NAMM, but and there's some play there, but really the Dante interfaces will play better in this particular marketplace.
Yeah.
And Dante being so prevalent, we just have a couple of interfaces that are one's a 16 channel, one's a 32 channel, and they're basically analog IOs to the Dante bus. So anywhere you want to bring an analog signal onto the Dante bus or pull it off, we have boxes that are very competitively priced, very robust. They use the latest Dante chips, so it's all great stuff. We also have been introducing some new firmware updates on our DA6400 hard recorder. We have a new theater mode that's really great, so it can be used in theatrical or corporate applications where you need to hit start and have it queue up automatically after it's done playing the file to go to the next file. And then we've gotten a lot of play on our SSCDR 250 unit, which is a multimedia player recorder. It does CD recording, of course, but it also does USB on a thumb drive and also SD card. And you can program it to record a program and then automatically push the file up to an FTP server. It's got a Dante card. It can be remotely controlled via the network. And so we're getting a lot of play in some big sports venues for emergency paging and things like that. And then we're going to show a couple things undercover that I really can't tell you exactly what they are. I could just tell you this, that we're back in the mixer business in a big way. And that's going to be very important to the house of worship and education market that you'll need to see. And we're also going to step into the audio and video streaming world where we see some very significant gaps. And so for those consultants who are looking for some other options that are out there and that are going to be presented very cost effectively yet with very high performance capabilities, we have a technology partner that was a little weak on the audio side. We're really strong on the audio side. And we're going to take these two elements and put them together with a very surprising statement from TASCAM in the streaming environment. So
I look forward to that. Now, I think one of the advantages you guys have is your competition does audio and about 9 other things. So you only do audio. So I think that really does provide you an advantage because for 2 reasons. Number one is you're focused in one area. Number 2 is it's easier to deal with you when you're trying to learn something or understand insteed of dealing with a sales rep who handles projectors and also microphones. You're dealing with one person that handles everything. Right. I know that you see that from the consulting side, but don't you see that as an advantage because everything is going to the network as people have to become more educated on not just Dante, but the other standards for putting audio on a network and the other ways that we can send audio around the world. Don't you see that as an advantage?
Yeah, it is. And, the thing is that let's face it, the customer, the end user client, they want things that work easily. They want things that solve their problems and they don't have to read, 5,000 page manual to get it done. They want things they're simple. They want, just like one of us, they want to do their job with high quality and get the job done in time so they can get out and have a beer with their buddies at the end of the day. That's the key. I think we bring this whole set of really excellent audio skills to the game. And, we're way on top of the latest chip technologies that allow us to do processes more rapidly and with more simplicity and yet maintain that higher quality audio. I think we're going to push the technology envelope a little bit farther down the road than a lot of other, audio companies. The other thing too is that we're finding unique applications for things that you would think are just like personal recorders or musician recorders and that, like our handheld recorders. We're going to see
I use it. Love it. Yeah, I walk around the show floor and do random podcasts that way.
Yeah, and we're getting orders from universities and schools for like 40, 50, 100 of these handhelds because they need them for dissertations or AP exams or stuff like that, and they want the kids to be able to record and gather that. One of the phenomenons we saw in the last couple of years was the tablet, the introduction of the tablet into the education market. Well, that's really great, but wouldn't it be great to also have an audio capture of that right. Professor's session? They can take it back. Not only are they looking at their notes, but they can hear back exactly what they said. We provide some very high quality, low cost solutions.
Yeah, and what's neat about them, if they don't know about it already, is that you can calibrate them with a tablet or with a phone and actually record directly on that way. So it's already a file that you can send across the network without having to do any sort of complex syncing. I love Absolutely. It. That's exactly how we use it. And for our on the road and sort of on the fly podcasting, that's what we use. And you're right. They have a new life to them. And of course, you also came out with the microphones as well recently.
Yeah, we have some of our condenser microphones that are actually very, very good for your particular application.
Yeah, we use
and of course, and the studio guys, I own a recording studio, and so I have this ridiculous closet of microphones. And I look at microphones as like tools. What, when you need a Phillips screwdriver, you don't grab the hammer. Or a flathead screwdriver, you use a Phillips screwdriver. And I think that we make a very respectable line of microphones that will fit into most any application, whether it's for broadcast or podcasting as you're doing, and then also then for the true recording artist or recording engineer.
So you'll be in booth C915 at InfoComm. Of course, you can check out TASCAM at tascam.com, TASCAM.com. Joe, personally, I want to thank you for the support you've given us and for your team stepping in and solving some of the problems we're having in the early days of podcasting, and making this a much more pleasant experience both for me and for the listeners. But also want to thank you for sponsoring all of our podcasts in and around InfoComm, and appreciate your support of the industry.
Well, Gary, I follow you on LinkedIn. I watch and breathe every word that you put out there.
I don't know.
And I honestly, I encourage everybody, if they're not following you on LinkedIn, they're missing a lot of really great news. So,
well, I appreciate that. And thanks for joining me today. And of course, check out TASCAM at tascam.com. And of course, this podcast was sponsored by TASCAM. Thanks again. Have a great day.